This is MetroSource Minis, the official podcast of MetroSource Magazine and home of short-form interviews with your favorite personalities from the LGBTQ world and beyond. Quick, fun, and informative. It's MetroSource on the go. Out and proud since 1990. Oh my goodness, hello. This is MetroSource Minis. I'm your host, Alexander Rodriguez. What's a boy to do when you break up and have to move out ASAP? You become an HGTV star and become a master interior decorator. That's all. In the HGTV series Build Me Up, Orlando Soria, a charismatic interior designer, social media influencer, and author, works with homeowners as they embrace a big life change to overhaul their home and create the fresh start that they deserve. Don't we all deserve a fresh start? Through beautiful design, humor, and a healthy dose of moral support, Orlando helped his clients transition into their next chapter of their life by infusing their homes with uniquely personalized elements that will change their lives for the better and get rid of some other ones too. Orlando has been a staple of the design industry for years, working with clients such as Whitney Port, Aubrey Plaza, and Olivia Culpo. His first book, Get It Together, it's a comical design book filled with life advice and tips on how to decorate your home, which is available on Amazon. Get it. We featured Orlando in our October-November issue of MetroSource with some before and after photos of some of his work. Please welcome Orlando Soria. Whoop, whoop.
Hello. Welcome to my home. Your intro made me excited about myself. You're really good at that.
No, I'm like your biggest fan. You know, I watch HGTV all the time, and I've been a fan of yours forever, from social media and now on TV. And it's always so much fun talking to you because not only, you know, do you do such a great job and you present yourself well and represent HGTV so well, but you are so down to earth and so accessible. Like, you just tell it how it is. There's no like entertainment fluff or like gay guy, you know, superficiality. You're like, it is what it is, and this is who I am.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it serves anybody to pretend like you're perfect or to not just be fully honest about what's going on. So,
yeah, well, my filters, not fully honest what's going on during quarantine. I'll tell you that much. It's like, whoop.
Oh my God.
But quarantine has not been a fun time for the LGBT or any community for that matter. People have lost their jobs, their places to live. They've broken up all during quarantine. You know, this kind of whole thing started. You were at a pretty low point in your life, just broken up from a pretty public relationship. Your big job didn't come through. You had to find a new place to live. And look what you've done. Look what you've become. Can you tell me what motivated you to keep going? And what advice can you give to people going through a tough time right now?
Oh, that's a very good question. Yeah, I mean, so this was in 2017 that I kind of like went through that big life transition where I went through a bit of a breakup and was like, lost my job and everything all at once. And, you know, we're all kind of going through that in a certain sense this year with just like losing our lives because normalcy is gone. And I actually think that I do well against adversity. Like, if there's something that I'm trying to work against, it actually motivates me to move forward. So I think that's probably why I jumped out of that hole, not easily, but quickly. And, you know, one thing that I learned in that situation is how adaptable I am and how good I am at making, you know, good situations out of bad situations. And the other thing there that I learned is that, like, you have to ask for help if you want help from other people. Like, people aren't just going to like psychically know that you need emotional or career support. And, you know, there really is a lot that you can do for yourself. Like, I've just kind of gotten a lot more confident in my own abilities to make decisions without asking other people for approval. And that's kind of like what the show was about. It's about like people moving into these spaces where they can design with only themselves in mind, which is one of the sort of silver linings of going through a breakup.
Well, yes. And I think to your point is like asking for help. I know, you know, up until COVID, we're living our best lives on social media, like I said, with the filters and showing our vacation pics, but we're not necessarily showing who we are. And there's members of the community that do need to be, talked to. They're lonely, and it's that kind of like, well, let's do away with smoke and mirrors for a little bit. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to tell people, hey, I'm not doing well, and it's okay to feel loss and grief at whatever you're going through, because going through those steps, and you can definitely talk about this, you have to go, how they put those, I don't know, 7 or 8 stages of grief. You actually have to go through each of those stages before you can come out of it in any way. You can't ignore any of those steps. You're just going to have to go through it.
I mean, and actually that in terms of how it relates to COVID and social media, I think are really interesting. And, we in the gay community have been really, in large part, not great at being good for each other on social media during COVID. I've seen so many people being like, here I am on a boat, like here I am at a pool party, here I am in Puerto Vallarta, and what that does to other people is it makes them feel like losers for like quarantining and staying at home and social distancing. And so I've been kind of like on people and on my friends to be like, hey, I'm not judging you for doing that, but do you really need to share that right now? And I've been really like aware of what I'm sharing too. I know that I'm not being perfect. I'm being pretty conservative with what I'm doing and how I'm socializing and who I'm seeing. But I also, if I do something where I'm like, here I am with my friends, I'm not going to be like posting it on Instagram, because that doesn't really do a service to everybody right now. What would be a service to other people is to reassure them that being safe and social distancing and kind of being conscientious about keeping everybody protected are valuable, and that other people are doing it, and that you're not crazy for doing it. Because that's what it feels like sometimes when everybody is just pretending like nothing is happening and posting the same stuff that they've been posting for years. It's like, we can go to those stupid circuit parties in 2021 or 2022. You don't have to like post about that right now.
I totally agree. And it is that like fear of missing out, or, kind of not being included. And it's like, what, everybody needs to take care of themselves right now. Right. And to your point, you make your own choices, but you don't have to broadcast everything. And, some people are not fooling anybody. And there's this hypocrisy. People are out of work. I know. And I'm not going to name names, but I could. People in the nightlife have literally lost their jobs. The bars are, the gay nightlife, our institutional bars that have been here from day one are closing. And some of these employees are out partying around without masks, whatever. And it's like, well, anyway, but
you're not helping your industry if you're doing that, because
that's exactly right.
Everybody is healthy and safe, those can open back up.
Yeah. But one, you're always evolving, which I love. The show Build Me Up actually started off as Unspouse Your House. And so your own show is evolving, but you, my friend, personally, going through different stages during quarantine, you packed up your beautiful LA abode, all the work you put into your space, and you bought a house near Yosemite, and now you live as a mountain man with 20 cats.
Yeah, I'm growing a mustache, if you don't notice.
Oh, I noticed, girl.
Yeah, so
now reverse.
I kind of like, it's a weird time to be in cities. And so I've wanted to buy a country house for a really long time. I've wanted to own a home for a really long time, and it felt like it was kind of impossible. Oddly, quarantine put me in the position to do it, because I continued making money, but I wasn't spending it. I wasn't going on any vacations. I wasn't buying clothes. And so I was able to save up money for a down payment and buy a house. And I just felt like if there was ever a time to get out of the city, it was right now. Like, I think I'll always kind of be like an urban person, but I do crave nature, and I do crave being in the country. And I also crave doing things with my hands and being outside and having like a project to fixate on. So for me, it just was like a kind of perfect alignment of a time to come back to an area that really means a lot to me, to leave a city when really there was nothing there for me right now. Like, everything that I like, the museums are closed, restaurants are closed, the gym is closed, there's no fun parties. Like, you can't really socialize with your friends in the way that you normally do, because like, you're not fully sure how everybody is acting in terms of their own social distancing and their own isolating. So it really felt meaningless to be spending a ton of money on rent in LA when I could literally for the same price buy a giant house in the woods that, you know, will be a project for me. I'll get to renovate it. I'll get to make it into a really beautiful sort of like retreat for my whole family. And then when things go back to normal, I can go back to the city and have this as a vacation house that I share with my family. So it just was kind of the right decision for me. I'm not, you know, saying that I never want to be in the city again. I'm just saying that like, it felt like a time to get out.
Now, do you feel that you have been able to kind of invest yourself in this? I mean, this house is just for you. There's nobody else in your life that you have to make this decision with. But on the flip side, there's also nobody else that's supporting you, like in your abode. This is kind of a naked moment, so to speak. You have to be very okay with yourself. And I was just talking to somebody about this you know, I've gone through my breakups as well. And I used to be so codependent. I couldn't go to the movies by myself. I couldn't go to the grocery store by myself. But now looking back, I do have this independent kind of nature, which I love and I'm able to embrace. Now, do you think you would have been able to make this big kind of choice in your life and this big move if you hadn't gone through all of that? You know, you're living life for just yourself now.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. But it's also just like, yeah, my confidence level and my level of sort of understanding of my own abilities and my ability to take care of myself and to figure things out has really increased in the last few years. So I definitely wouldn't be biting off this huge project if I didn't think that I were capable of it. And I don't think that I would have felt like that about myself just a few years ago.
Feeling good about yourself and being confident is such an important theme to Build Me Up. And like I had mentioned, it was first called Unspouse Your House, and Build Me Up has like a more positive energy to it, creatively. I can't even speak in quarantine. What did you want from season 2 of your show? What did you want audiences to feel?
That is a great question. I think more than anything, I wanted people to just enjoy watching somebody do something nice for other people. We're in this time where there's such a like animosity and a lack of empathy that when you're watching empathy happen on TV, it can just feel really good. And just rooting for everyday stories of people going through different things, like whether they be huge life calamities, like a woman who lost her husband to cancer, or like little happy things, like a woman whose son went off to college. Like, everyday stories matter. It doesn't have to be some like big tragic thing in order for it to be important. You know, I think people sometimes feel a little bit self-conscious about feeling badly for themselves if something happens because they think there's so many other people suffering so much more. And that's especially, you know, prescient this year. If you think about people feeling like, you know, my sister and her wife had a 40th birthday and we were all going to go to Hawaii and they were sad about not being able to go, and they were like, well, other people like missed their weddings, and you know, people lost their grandmothers and they couldn't see them. There are so many other tragedies, but that doesn't mean that the things that you've missed out on or the things that you're mourning aren't important as well. And I think our show was, you know, it's a really nice way of just being like, all of these little stories about different people matter, and caring about other people and their stories is a really important element of just being a human, you know?
And we got to see families in so many different ways. One of my favorite episodes was the mom that you helped. Her kid went off to college, not only because she was like, you know, she wanted to be a party girl again. She wanted to remember that, like, she loved her alcohol. And you did such an amazing job by bumping out her like kitchen window became this bar for the outside area. It was such a smart and unique way of using her space, and also bringing back that party life by literally one window change. It really changed the whole feel and the flow of the house. That was one of my favorite episodes. And another episode I loved was the son who had his mom living with him on his property, and he totally redesigned the space just for her. And it was so nice to see, you know, a son give that back to a mom and see what our responsibilities are in taking care of each other as family in any way that we can. So many stories just really touched me. And like I said, I watch HGTV all the time. I'm obsessed. It's my quarantine binge. It's always on in the background. And what I love about HGTV Network is they feature gay designers, gay clients, but it's not like, okay, this is the gay show or this is the gay client. It's just like, here's a story and here's a host. There's not this pomp and circumstance, and there's just not this heavy pressure and heavy hand of having to be a gay show or inclusive. It just is matter of the fact, which I love so much. Did you ever think that growing up that your sexuality was going to be such an easy part of your career?
I don't know if I ever really thought about it in relationship to my career. So I was raised in a kind of liberal pocket surrounded by very conservative areas like the one that I moved to. But I was kind of raised to be pretty entitled about the fact that like who I was okay. That doesn't mean that I've never felt like I couldn't be, fully open about myself or that I was always like fully liberated. But I think because I kind of like went off to, liberal schools and then only lived in New York and LA, I never really thought about my sexuality impeding my career that much. Yeah, I mean, I guess in the entertainment industry, because I am kind of like entertainment adjacent, like I'm a designer, but I'm also somebody who's on TV. You do think about like, well, think of all the shows that are really viable and the shows that are popular, and most of them are straight white couples.
Right.
And there is something to the universality of that experience that can sell more for networks. So I guess I thought about it in that sense of like, am I viable for certain audiences based on what my story is? Even like being single versus being a married gay guy with kids, like how sellable is that? Because what you're selling when you're kind of like a hybrid, personality / somebody who does a trade, who's a designer, is your personality in your life. So yeah, I mean, it's not fully really about my sexuality. It's more about like, I guess the narrative that goes along with the personality that is presented on TV.
For sure. And what I really love is, like I said, we get to see all of you, and we get to see, your stylized self. Like, I don't think I've ever seen you wear the same outfit and wearing slim fit, tapered leg chinos while you're demoing something. And we get to see that kind of duality of, yes, you can be this charismatic kind of host of the house, if you will, but then you get down and dirty and you're literally, knocking down walls. There's not this idea of like, okay, I have to be more of the feminine or masculine side to this. This is who I am. And it does encompass so many different aspects of your personality. Who does your styling, by the way?
I do all of it. I have no fancy stylist or anything. I wish I did.
Well, those outfits, girl, I'm like, yes, we are gardening and we look good gardening.
Yeah, I love color. I mean, because I used to do production design and I've worked in entertainment for a while, like I usually understand that I want there to be some color on the screen, which is why I normally am wearing such bright clothes. Because like oftentimes you'll show up to a job site and it's like almost like the background right now, where it's like the walls are all white, the floor has been pulled out, so it's just concrete, and you need some color, you need some life there. Otherwise, the show itself wouldn't be very vibrant. So usually I bring that in with my clothes because I know that that's one way that I'm going to add some sort of saturation to the camera.
Well, I love that you add the color, and I love that you add a touch of alcohol to a lot of the episodes too. You're like, before we get started, let's have a little drinky poo. Oh God, I'm in love. So being at home in quarantine, what are some easy ways that we can kind of spruce up our own space? I'm sick of looking at my furniture. I'm sick of being home all the time. But a lot of us are on a restricted budget now because we don't know when the next paycheck's coming in. What are some easy fixes that we can do to spruce up our quarantine space?
So the number one I always say to people is paint, because paint costs like $30 for a gallon and you can literally transform an entire room. And it's also an excellent workout, which we all need during quarantine because working out is impossible. Yes. The other thing that I like to tell people is that like small things like textiles, these are like, whether it be like a tea towel for your kitchen or, bath towels or new bed linens, those are things you notice and that like really make you feel good about your space because you're touching them and you're using them. And then, art is a huge thing. Like just, you can make a home with the cheapest, ugliest furniture look amazing if you have really beautiful, cool art. And there's a ton of resources online for inexpensive reproductions, for things that can be printed, large format, like at a local print shop, and just framed very simply, that'll make your house look so much better.
I have to tell you, I have found some great kitschy art that adds so much life, even from thrift stores. Especially a thrift store in like West Hollywood or Palm Springs, you find the most interesting kind of art that by itself is not the most beautiful, but you add it to a space and it's alive.
Yeah, I love those thrift stores in Palm Springs. They
Me
always
too,
have the
because
best stuff.
well, all the Hollywood people go there to die, and so they have these estates full of wonderful. God, that's so awful to say. But now with a successful career, your own TV show, now a new house, you are, so to speak, set. That being said, when you look back, what's your view on love and dating now, where you're at now, considering everything that you've kind of been through?
That's a good question. I actually am in a mode right now where I'm not actively seeking a relationship, and that feels really nice. I'm kind of in like a little personal development bubble,
Yeah.
I think that, having to kind of like come out of the last job that I had and building my own company and just continuing to grow professionally, I've reached a little mode where I'm like, I kind of just I'm liking the relationships that I'm building with my family and my friends right now. And I feel really good about not being in a relationship. Also, I mean, when quarantine started, I was kind of like on Hinge and like Tinder and Grindr and whatever. And I started to be like, what is this for? Because I actually was like, I don't want to meet up with anybody. I don't feel safe doing that.
Right.
So I kind of my whole sort of way of processing COVID has been, okay, it took me a minute because I had my travel plans for Provincetown for the 4th of July. I had all these plans of everything that I was going to do for the rest of that summer. And once I was kind of like, oh, this isn't going to be gone until the middle of 2021, if even that, then that was a mourning process that kind of lasted for the first part of the summer. And then I was kind of like, well, let's not try to make this into something that it's not. And that's the thing that's actually bothering me, that I'm watching people who are still trying to cling to making life normal. Life isn't normal, so what can it be? And for me, it was a chance to make a radical change in my life where I did something totally different. And what I've decided for myself is that it doesn't seem like dating is a thing that can happen in a comfortable, safe way for me during quarantine. So I'm trying to build other aspects of my life. I'm trying to enrich my relationship with my siblings and with my parents. I'm trying to, really create meaningful relationships with my friends who are kind of part of my quarantine pod. And just kind of be actively seeking a different life than we will have when things go back to normal. Because when things go back to normal, if that ever happens, I think it will. But I think we'll kind of look back and be like, well, that was a really missed opportunity if we don't grow and change in other ways. So my sort of MO right now is just do everything completely different. Do not be clinging to normalcy in any way, and grow and change in ways that would not be possible otherwise. I don't think I would be sitting in this house if it weren't for COVID-19.
Yeah, well, and I love that. I think that's the best advice I've ever heard about this whole experience. And when you do enter the dating market again, you're going to be confident, know exactly who you are and exactly what you want, and you're not going to settle for less because you've been through it.
Right. Exactly.
Although when you're not looking, that's usually when somebody pops up, by the way.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of hoping that this mountain experience turns into a Hallmark movie where I go down to the little general store and I drop my books, and then somebody else drops his books, and we bump heads on the way up, and then we fall in love, and then I find out that he's Santa Claus.
Or royalty.
He's royal Santa Claus. And then we move into this cabin and we name it the Christmas Mansion.
Well, Hallmark does have its first gay film this next season, so we're very excited about that.
Watching the ever-loving love out of that.
Yeah. Well, and for our audience, we have the exclusive with Jonathan Bennett, who's starring in that. So watch for that coming out. Okay. Are you ready to play a little rapid fire?
I am, absolutely.
Okay. What part of your home living would you be mortified for us to see? Something you don't even take your own advice on, like a dirty kitchen, a messy bathroom. What is it?
I would say mostly, and that's actually not true right now, but usually closets. I'm everything is beautiful. And then you open a drawer or a closet and you're like, what kind of animal are you?
I love that. And I can, that's to a T.
Where my favorite shame lives.
Worst date ever.
Worst date ever? Oh my God, I've had so many. Basically one where it was this actor model guy, and then he really wanted to go on another date, and I was actually busy because I was doing my show, and then finally he was like, fine, I'm never seeing you ever again. And he basically blocked me and turned into a psychopath. But for some reason, when you turn, I'm 38, any age over 35, like basically like little 20-year-olds start being like, hey daddy. And you're like, I'm not even attracted to you. Like, can I have somebody my own age? But I just had so many dates with people who were like that age that are like, you go on a date with them and they just like expect you to pay, which is fine. But like, I never would have done that when I was 20. I guess I was like never really a young person. But anyway, people my age, once I care about dating, give me a call, because it's like weird once you're over 35, nobody your age wants to date you. Only like
it's
children.
The weirdest
do.
thing.
You're like going on dates with people who are like, what's a CD? And you're like, shut up, get out of here. Why doesn't anybody my own age like me?
Or they're like, will you go to prom with me?
Yeah, you're like, you're disgusting. I hate young people.
Celebrity would love to work with and redesign their home.
Oh, that's a great question. Like Tilda Swinton, maybe?
Yes! That is such a good mix of energy, and I can totally see it. And you guys would be having like champagne cocktails and like painting like florals on the side of her chimney. Like I see that.
You'd be like in a glass cube in a corner using an intercom to tell me what to do. And I would love it.
That made me laugh for real. What would the title of your biography be?
I'm All Alone, the Orlando Soria story.
And Tilda will be typing it in the corner. Okay, final question. How long does it take for you to do your hair? Notice I did my swoop like yours today.
Oh, it's cute. I like it. Not actually that long. Probably like 5 to 7 minutes.
Oh, God, I hate you. All right, tell everybody where you want them to find you, follow you, and watch you.
Please love me. Please follow me on Instagram at Mr. Orlando Soria. Be checking my blog for updates, because I'm going to be blogging again very soon. It's orlandosoria.com. What else? I mean, that's basically it. Just, also watch Build Me Up on HGTV Go, and also be on the lookout for a new HGTV digital series where I make over the home of extremely hot celebrity Olympian skier Gus Kenworthy, which will be out very, very soon.
You're just telling me about this right now?
Yeah.
How short is he in real life? Is he like super short?
He's shorter than me. He's actually like also dating a friend of mine, and you're just like so hot, and you're like, ugh, why are you guys so cute?
So you built them like a really big shower then?
We did like we shot his place like a few months ago. And so we had to do like portraits of us together. And I'm like, why the do you look so good in every photo? Because you look like an old witch with like worms crawling out of your face next to him. And you don't even try, and you look amazing in this photo. But he's a sweetheart. I love him. And that was a really fun project. So I'm excited for people to see the photos of it. And I'm also excited for the little web series we did.
Oh, I'm going to be watching that, and I'm going to be pressing pause a few times, I'm sure.
You should. He's absolutely adorable, and his place turned out so good.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been Orlando Soria. You can read my in-depth interview with him and some before and after photos of his work in our October-November issue of Metro Source, available nationally on newsstands or go online. And that has been our episode. I am your host, Alexander Rodriguez, lead writer for Metro Source. You can follow me on Instagram at Alexander's on Air. Until next time, stay true, stay you, boo. That has been another MetroSource Mini. Like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast player, and check out the latest issue of MetroSource magazine on newsstands or online at metrosource.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram at MetroSource, and on Twitter at MetroSourceMag. Until next time, stay fabulous.